Good morning, everybody. Monday morning. Graeme Souness is back in our midst and is with us all the way through until 1 o'clock. It's Jim White and it's Simon Jordan live on talkSPORT. We're also streaming live on YouTube and Facebook. Mr. Souness in this very studio on the 17th floor of the News Building, right beside the Shard at London Bridge. We're talking about Manchester City drawing 3-3 with Tottenham in what was a real thriller. It was a thriller at Anfield as well. We'll get to that. But a real thriller at the Etihad yesterday. Graeme, when you look at that and you think, well, Ange, there was big pressure on Tottenham going there because of the way they play. Would they play that way, all-out attack? Would that not hand the incentive, if you like, to Manchester City to do a job on Tottenham and win by a good few goals? Didn't work out that way. Are Manchester City showing more frailties now than they have done before? Or is this a story we've seen countless times before now? A City side yet to rev up their engines?
I think you'd be a fool to talk about Man City's frailties. I think they are a proper team, great footballers, serial winners. What great players and great teams do, they react to disappointment. Now, okay, we're not even at Christmas, Jim. And they're sitting third in the table as we speak. They still, for me, are the favourites, although I've got a sneaky feeling for my old team. Yeah, I think they're going to be, I said at the start of the season, I think you're going to have to finish in front of Liverpool to win this league. And the reason is that Liverpool have got lots of goals in their team. And if you've got lots of goals in your team, it means you can win games without being at your best. But City, you know, if I was looking at them, they're conceding goals that they wouldn't normally. They're missing their best player, who has been their best player for the last 5 or 6 years, in De Bruyne. Yeah. So he will come back. They
were 5 points better off at this point last season.
I think if there's any criticism of them, is that they're not playing with the same intensity. We were talking about Sheffield United before, and at that end of the league where that half a yard's a difference. And I would suggest it's the same with City right now. Now, whether it's the impact of the Champions League games on them, or for whatever reason, they're just maybe, I'm not saying half a yard, maybe a foot away from where, when it comes pressing, getting your shots off, getting your passes off, being aggressive, more aggressive, that you'd be a fool to write them off.
I mean, Gary Neville said complacency, and he said that a few times. Did you have that in your championship winning side at Liverpool?
Yeah, I think. Well, I was at Liverpool 7 seasons. We won the league 5 times. So there was a couple of years where we must have been complacent, or, that would be a discredit to. I think Villa won it once and Forest won it. They were really good teams. It was their year, but. No, I wouldn't call it. You can't call it complacency. They've got a manager that won't allow that to happen. And the reason, apart from what comes out of his mouth and his actions, is they have such a strong squad that can rotate that. And if you're a player, and I had that feeling, he's made those players in the dressing room feel like this. I'm captain of Liverpool. I'm captain of Scotland. There was only 2 subs at the time. I knew if I had 2 or 3 indifferent games, they'd be looking at me very closely. And I know one of those subs. I can remember getting changed one day. 2 sub midweek international. I'd played and so most of the team. 2 subs had played in midweek, and there was 5 guys with suits on that weren't getting changed. Had all played for their international teams that midweek. And I know if I had 2 indifferent games, they'd be looking at me very closely. Captain or not captain, grand fromage or not big cheese, I would have been under pressure. And Man City have that right now, where he can say to anyone, De Bruyne, anyone. Yeah, maybe Haaland's put himself into a different category, but if you're not at it, we can always find someone else who will be at it, and then you have to sit and have a look for a few weeks.
Got it. Are they still to rev up then, City, Simon?
Oh, listen, I mean, crossbar post and several sitters missed, and they win the game 7-3. I mean, look, Man City to me are still the side to beat. They're still the team that everybody has to emulate to be able to win the league. So I still expect them to win the league. I don't have quite the same faith in Liverpool that Graeme has. But I do think that Liverpool are getting better as a side, certainly better than they were last year. And I have reservations about whether Arsenal will stay the course. But no, I think Tottenham are a capable side. I think they're a brave side. I think they're playing a brand of football that perhaps gives Man City more conundrums to work out than previously have done. And also they've had kryptonite over City before. If you look at the statistics when they're coming out on the pitch, they've won 6 of the X amount of games over the last amount of time they've played them. So it's not something that we're unfamiliar with. What we saw was a brilliant game of football, and Tottenham had their part in it.
Yeah.
See, you the question was about City. So but I think it's so easy to overlook how good Spurs were. Mm-hmm. I mean, what I was amazed at, if you watch that game again, just watch them sprinting. No one was going at sort of 75% to close down. Everybody was sprinting from the first minute to the last. Spurs were really good yesterday. And this is with how much of his strongest 11 not being out.
And the two
signs are good for Spurs.
You must admire Postecoglou.
Very much
for
so.
not moving from his principles.
Yeah, I am. Can I say that? He was sort of preparing us for his team losing quite heavily at the weekend. I think he may have been surprised how well his team did, but they deserved the result. I thought they hung in there in the first half, got through that difficult period, and were really good in the second half. But I'm maybe going off on a tangent here, but I didn't see the Chelsea game where they stuck to their principles. Now, I would suggest that...
Came a cropper.
I would suggest...
Well, you were down to 9 men.
That's what I was going to say. I would suggest when you've got 9 men, you can't hold a high line.
Yeah.
Just don't have the numbers. You can hold a high line, Jim. Always remember this. You hold a high line as long as the ball has been put under pressure. If you're down to 9 men, you can't be putting the ball under pressure all the time. So, as I said, I know I got a bit of criticism for that. Maybe in the future he gets 2 players sent off. He won't be holding a high line.
Would you say? I mean, I obviously think most people would say the same as you, Graham. But would you say culturally, the nature of what he's trying to drum into these players is a certain mindset? A belief system, even when we're in this situation, we're going to play a certain way, and it will serve them better in the longer game. And then when he's got that culture in there, then he'll flip it around and change it a little bit.
I mean, 100% true. I mean, yesterday, they've been travelling back to London feeling really, really pleased with themselves. You know, they've gone to, along with Liverpool, the hardest place to dig out a result. I know that our Arsenal man is looking at me with a strange face when I say that. Okay, let's include Arsenal in that. But they've gone back to London with a big smile on their faces.
Do you think
they deserve to.
Is he going to prove to be the real deal for Tottenham?
Well, I think I mentioned it already. It's about players. I think he's a really healthy group of players he's got right now.
Yeah.
I think going into that game, having lost 3 games is a bit unfair on him because, you know, you mentioned the Chelsea game, but I didn't see him playing badly in other games. I think he'll need help from Daniel Levy, bit of investment, and then that is the time to do it. When you're on the up, that's the time to invest. It's not.
What about the big talking point at the end? And we'll get into this the other side of the break, but I see it in the back of the Times this morning. It's everywhere. You've seen it probably, of course, yourself. Haaland's fury at the referee. Henry Winter in the Times this morning. Sadly, the many highs of another compelling episode of the Premier League show need setting against the latest officiating law to the damage the world's most elite sporting league. You're in the face of the odd referee over the years, Graham, on a number of occasions. Haaland lost it yesterday at the end, didn't he?
Yeah, I think that's as much out of that decision when the whistle blew and he should have allowed it to go on, as much as the way he had played. Mr. Sitter in the first half, didn't get many sniffs at goal. I think that would be born out of frustration he was feeling personally as much as that decision.
So you're after the officials?
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it's okay, and I think that the talk of sin bins, I think, corrects that overnight. I think if that's introduced, that doesn't happen.
You sling Haaland in a sin bin for that?
No, I'm not saying I would sling him in a sin bin. What I'm saying is if they're going to introduce that problem's no longer in football.
So you back this idea?
I think it's a good one because the way the game's evolved. You go back to it was Fergie's group of players and Wenger's group of players where they surround a referee. You know, put the referee under all sorts of pressure. You know, get in his face. That went out of our game a wee bit. And now it appears to be sneaking back in. I think to eradicate it once and for all, a sin bin, because you have the sensible heads around Haaland yesterday saying, don't do that. You're off. Don't do that.
I mean, Simon Hooper did a good game, Simon. And it was that moment that, of course, the wheels came off.
Yeah, but it was an easy decision to make.
It's a poor decision.
It was an easy... I mean, it wasn't like... It was clear early on they were keeping possession of the ball. And then, but... There's no guarantee that Jack Grealish is going to run through.
That's what I was going to say.
And score a goal.
It's a poor decision. There's no doubt about it. And it does. I mean, I don't like articles like that because there's many things that happen on a football pitch at times that you could suggest may not bring the Premier League into the best light. And I don't think it's particularly helpful for Henry to make sure that his allegiances are in certain places so he can make sure that the dynamic of when he wants to interview certain people is pleasing to him and to them, because I think that's ridiculous. We see bad decisions being made on a football field in every country around the world, and I don't know quite why it has to be dragged into this space where he turns around and says it damages the world's most elite sporting league. People make mistakes. I thought with and I thought, by the way Ruben Diaz spoke about it afterwards of the game was a very mature and articulate and winning mentality way of approaching it. The referee made a mistake. Yeah. We all make mistakes. It's not ideal. We're disappointed. We're frustrated. That's how professional footballers should talk about situations.
Of course.
I
know there's emotivity, and I understand that the sin bin thing wouldn't have been relevant to Haaland because it was at the end of the game. He's not going to get put in the sin bin.
No, but he's on it at the moment as well. When it happened, he was on him as well.
Yeah. I mean, he loses it. Clearly, he loses it.
to hang the argument all on that one decision.
Yeah.
City, City weren't quite at it, or Spurs were very good. I think a draw was a fair result.
Yeah,
I really do. And
it's a poor decision, Graham.
Yeah,
we're regularly
it was an
defending
easy one
referees.
to make.
It's just a poor.
It was an easy one
decision.
to make.
It's not good enough.
It's not like that. Oh, has he got possession? Has he regained possession? It was clearly they had possession.
Doesn't overshadow the whole game, though, Simon. Does it?
No, that's my point.
Thriller.
But that's my point in terms of
great game of football.
What's being
Great
suggested.
advert.
But you're constantly having this battle now with the fraternity in football that suggests that the referees shouldn't have the authority, or this is overreach and that's overreach, and the necessity to have this. When you make decisions like this and they're really poor, it's difficult to defend them at times.
Yeah, it wasn't a marginal thing. It
It's
wasn't a
just
difficult
stupid.
position to get right.
Well, Haaland let loose on Twitter afterwards and you've got a rough idea what the final word was, and showing pictures of the incident. He might be in trouble. We'll see. Stay with us.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.